Have you ever stubbed your toe so hard that you just burst out laughing? Or maybe you've seen someone take a lighthearted tumble and you couldn't help but chuckle, even while you were checking if they were okay. It seems completely backward, right? Why would pain, something we're wired to avoid, trigger laughter, a sign of joy? Well, today we are re-diving deep into the weird and wonderful wiring of our brains to uncover the unseen link between pain and laughter. Let's start with a little brain science. When you experience pain, your brain releases a flood of chemicals. One of these is endorphins. You've probably heard of them as the feel-good chemicals you get from exercise. They're basically your body's natural painkillers, acting on the same brain receptors as opioids. But here's the cool part. Endorphins are also released during genuine, heartfelt laughter. So, when you experience a sudden, non-threatening jolt of pain, your brain can get its signals crossed. It goes into emergency mode, releases endorphins to manage the pain, and that rush of feel-good chemicals can accidentally trigger the physical response of laughter. It's a biological 2-for-1 deal. Think about it like this. Your brain is trying to cope. The pain signal is a threat, and your brain's job is to protect you. Releasing endorphins is step one. But laughter is also a powerful coping mechanism. It's a social signal that says, I'm okay. This isn't a life or death situation. When you trip over nothing and laugh it off, you're not just dealing with the physical sting. You're managing the social embarrassment. You're telling yourself, and everyone around you, that the situation is under control. It's a way of reframing a negative event into something harmless, or ebb and funi. This is where the benign violation theory comes in. This theory of humor suggests that we find things funny when they violate our expectations of how the world should work, but in a way that is ultimately safe or benign. A pratfall is a perfect example. Someone falling violates our expectation of normal walking. It's unexpected, but as long as we know they aren't seriously hurt, the situation is benign. The combination of violation and safety is what creates the humor. That sharp, sudden pain from stubbing your toe is a violation, but once you realize you're not actually in danger, the relief can bubble up as laughter. But there's another side to this, a much darker and more complex side. What about when laughter isn't a sign of relief, but a symptom of suffering? This is the paradox of humor and pain. Sometimes we laugh when we feel completely overwhelmed, when the situation is anything but benign. This is what's often called gallows humor or nervous laughter. Imagine you're in a situation that is incredibly stressful or emotionally painful. You've received bad news, or you're facing immense pressure. Suddenly, you might find yourself laughing at something completely inappropriate, or even at the tragedy itself. This isn't because you find the situation genuinely funny. It's a defense mechanism. Psychologists refer to this as a form of emotional regulation. When emotions like grief, fear, or anxiety become too intense for our brains to handle, laughter can act as a psychological release valve. It provides a momentary distraction, a brief escape from the crushing weight of reality. It's your brain desperately trying to find a lifeline, to create a moment of distance from the pain. Think of doctors in an emergency room or soldiers in a conflict zone. They often develop a very dark sense of humor. They aren't heartless. It's a crucial survival tool. It helps them bond with their colleagues and emotionally distance themselves from the traumatic things they witness every day. This kind of humor allows them to process the unthinkable without letting it completely break them. By turning a horrific event into a joke, even for a second, they regain a tiny sense of control in a situation that feels utterly uncontrollable. But this coping mechanism can be a double-edged sword. While it can offer temporary relief, relying on it too much can also be a way of avoiding our true feelings. If we constantly deflect pain with a joke, we might never actually process the underlying grief or trauma. It can become a mask we wear, preventing us from seeking real connection and support. Friends and family might misinterpret this laughter, thinking we're fine when we're actually falling apart inside. They see the smile, but they don't see the suffering behind it. This is why it's so important to be aware of how we and others use humor. Is the laughter a sign of genuine resilience, of finding light in the darkness, or is it a desperate attempt to hide a deeper wound? There's a fine line between a healthy coping mechanism and emotional avoidance. When humor is used to connect, to share a burden, and to acknowledge a shared struggle, it can be incredibly healing. It says, "This is hard, but we're in it together." But when it's used to isolate, to push people away, or to deny the reality of our pain, it can become just another layer of our suffering. It is also important to remember that if you find yourself using humor to constantly mask feelings of sadness, anxiety, or hopelessness, it's a sign that you might need more support. There's no shame in struggling, and reaching out for help is a sign of incredible strength. Talking to a friend, a family member, or a mental health professional can provide you with healthier, more sustainable ways to navigate your pain. Laughter can be a fantastic medicine, but it's not a cure-all, and it's not a substitute for genuine connection and professional care. So, the next time you laugh at a minor mishap or find a chuckle escaping an intense moment, take a second to think about what's really happening. Is it your brain's quirky endorphin response? Is it a way of signaling social safety? Or is it a complex defense mechanism against overwhelming emotion? The link between pain and laughter is a profound reminder of how our brains work tirelessly to protect us, to help us cope, and to find moments of light, even in the darkest of times. Understanding this paradox doesn't just make us smarter about our brains, it makes us more compassionate toward ourselves and others. Thanks for joining me on this journey into the mind. If you found this interesting, hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the psychology of our everyday lives. Until next time, stay curious.